Please go ahead.
Okay. A very good evening to everyone. On behalf of the organizers, I warmly welcome all the participants to day 5 of our 15-day online international faculty development program. We are delighted to have you all with us for today's session. I'm Dr. Rubina Pradhan, and I'll be taking you through the session today. Today's lecture is titled Behind a Published Paper, a Step by Step Guide to Research Design, Writing, Peer Review, and Acceptance. This session addresses one of the most important aspects of academic research, transforming a research idea into a successfully published journal article. It is now my privilege to introduce our distinguished resource person for today's session, Dr. Dimitri Skandali, faculty member in the Department of Economics at the University of Peloponnese, Greece. Dr. Skandali holds a PhD in Business Administration from the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens, where her doctoral research focused on implementation and application of artificial intelligence in marketing. Her research interests include AI, digital marketing, consumer behavior, entrepreneurship, fintech, tourism marketing, sustainable development, and business analytics. She has authored numerous peer reviewed publications and edited volumes, and her methodological expertise includes quantitative and mixed method research, particularly structural equation modeling, partial least square structural equation modeling, Fuzzy set qualitative comparative analysis, and advanced analytics. She also actively serves as co editor, reviewer, and conference presenter within the international academic community. We are privileged to have you with us today. With further delay, I invite Dr. Skandali to deliver today's lecture. The virtual platform is now yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you see my screen, uh,
It,
whole
it is
screen,
visible.
or just the window of the
No, we can see the
presentation?
full screen.
The full screen. Okay. So let me check it for a while. Okay. So it's a great pleasure for me being here today. Uh, it's a great honor, honestly, being with you and participating into this research publications excellence from manuscript preparation to successful journal acceptance. So is it fine? You can see the screen right now, the whole screen
Yes,
uh, of the
yes,
presentation.
yes.
Okay. So I would like to say good afternoon to the distinguished faculty members of researchers, colleagues, and dear participants. It's of course today the day that I would like to share not only my academic knowledge, but also practical experience gained through years of publishing, reviewing, editing, and of course collaborating with researchers from different countries. Publishing scientific research is often presented as a mysterious process. That's why I said yes to this kind of masterclass, because many believe that successful papers are written only by exceptional gifted researchers, which is not true. In reality, successful publication is the outcome of a systematic process involving careful planning, scientific reasoning, persistence, and of course, continuous learning. So the purpose of this masterclass is to write with purpose, first of all, then to embrace and review new different papers in order to see how things are going, and of course to try to collaborate globally. Since international partnerships are very important for our research, we embrace this kind of things in order to enhance our thinking. So, throughout today's session, I will take you behind scenes of academic research, and we will explore together an idea which involves into a published paper, what editors actually look for, and of course, why reviewers sometimes reject manuscripts, and how researchers can significantly improve their chances of publication. So, I encourage you to think of this session as an interactive conversation rather than a traditional lecture. So, please take some notes or reflect your own research projects. And feel free to ask questions in the end or during the discussion of this masterclass. So let's begin our journey behind every published paper. So before discussing research, I would like to introduce myself, but I think too many things are already being introduced by me. So I'm a lecturer. I'm not a full professor, so my experience is not of very long time. But I have already gained too many desk rejected papers. So from my experience, it's very difficult to say things about this kind of reaction, because every time you get a rejection, of course, you are not happy. Everyone who says the different, um, it's just a lie. During the past few years, I had the privilege to also have some accepted submitted papers, but I suppose that too many of us today are very impressed by highly reputed journal publications. So just for the beginning, I need to say that one of the biggest misconceptions among early career researchers like us is that publication depends exclusively on intelligence. So it doesn't, because academic publishing is fundamentally just a process. Editors evaluate manuscripts according to specific criteria, and reviewers assess scientific contribution, methodological rigor, theoretical grounding, and of course, originality and clarity. So a brilliant idea can easily be rejected if it is not good, or maybe to say it more properly, it's poorly communicated. So it's not the problem that you don't have a good idea, it's that it's not communicated the way it should. So a relatively modest contribution may be accepted because it is logically developed and professionally presented. So it is just a systematic thing. So during today's session, we will learn how successful authors think throughout this publication journey. So, what exactly does this journey look like? If you see this diagram, you can see that first of all is the idea. First of all is the research question, and then the literature review. So the most important phase is the question, what we are actually going to conceptualize. And then we are going to pass through the second phase, which is to find the correct theory, the methodology, and of course, the data collection. So every published article follows exactly this journey. Although journals differ in their submission system, as you may probably know, every successful manuscript passes through these fundamental stages. Problems occurring at any stage, unfortunately, and this is inevitable, because it influences all subsequent stages. For example, a weak research question results in weak hypothesis, apparently. So, in that way, a weak hypothesis produce unclear analysis. So, if the analysis is not well written, so what's following next is that we have unclear analysis, which also lead to weak discussions. So finally, this paper is unfortunately rejected. Therefore, successful publication begins long before writing the first sentence. So it begins with asking the right scientific question. So, which is the things that bring us to perhaps the most important lesson uh, is maybe that research begins with curiosity, of course, not with statistics, because many doctoral students tell me that I want to use this kind of statistical program, let's say, for example, SPSS. So others say, no, I want to use only structural equation modeling software. So my answer here is always the same. So statistics do not create research. Uh, Questions create always the research, and the correct questions, I must add. So methods merely help answer those kind of questions. Great researchers first become genuinely curious about a phenomenon. Then they need to observe the world, and then they identify unresolved problems. That's the big question. So they noticed too many contradictions. They need to ask why this thing is happening. So that curiosity eventually develops into scientific investigation. So every successful paper you have ever read began with someone's curiosity. Once curiosity exists, we need to identify a meaningful research gap. So, if you look at this funnel, you can see that we observe always the existing literature. We need to focus on that. We need to see what other people have already researched. So, editors are not looking for papers that simply repeat existing knowledge. Editors seek manuscripts that advance scientific understanding, not repeating that. A genuine research gap emerges naturally from careful reading of this kind of literature. So they seek manuscripts that advance scientific understanding. This advancement is known as the research contribution. So contributions maybe emerge from identifying genuine research gaps. A research gap may arise because previous studies produce conflicting findings, maybe. It may be involve emerging technologies that haven't yet been investigated. It may concern new countries, new industries, new cultures, or different cultures, different generations, or different methodological approaches. So, importantly, a research gap should never be artificially created. It should naturally emerge from careful reading of the already existing literature. Then we need to move to limitations and contradictions, and of course we need to see future research directions, and of course leading to the original contribution through the research gap. So a gap should never be artificially created, as we have already said. So once we identify this kind of gap, we need to transform into a real, a good one research question. So, a strong research question must be precise, measurable, and of course, theoretically grounded, as well as practically important. So, specifically, dramatically improves quality, and editors can easily notice that. So, a strong research question needs to make to become strong, to make a strong contribution. So here we have an example of a strong question saying that how does generative AI influence consumer trust and purchase intention among Generation Z in online banking? So it's pretty precise. We focused on the target group of Gen Z. We make the population, the sample of the population very precise. And of course, we talk about generative AI technology, and it is very clear that we need to research about their trust and their intention to invest some money in buying this kind of stuff. So, the context of this question is, of course, online banking. So, editors really appreciate this kind of clearly defined research question that we are at about to investigate in this kind of example. So every research question requires a theoretical explanation. So this is also a very important decision. Which theory matches our research? Because theory explains why relationships exist. Data only shows whether they occur. So without theory, research is only descriptive. With theory, it becomes explanatory. So, if we choose the right framework, then we can build our hypothesis from theory. One of the most common weaknesses that reviewers identify is the insufficient theoretical development. So, theory needs to explain why this kind of relationship exists. So, this is one of the most important things to find the correct theoretical framework to build your new framework. So, data merely demonstrates whether those relationships occur. Without this kind of theory, research, as we said, becomes descriptive, and whether you employ, let's say, the technology acceptance model TAM, the research-based view, or the stakeholder theory, or you name what you need to use. This kind of theory provides the intellectual foundation of your own, I repeat that, your own study, because it's something new, it's something unique. So you need to invest a lot of time to find the correct theoretical framework to build it. This is the most important thing, in my opinion. So if you choose a good one, it's because it best explains research problem. Really leads to our hypothesis. There is no universally superior method because the best methodology is the one that most effectively answers your research question, not the one you are just comfortable with. So, developing a hypothesis is a logical process rather than a creative writing exercise. Its hypothesis should emerge directly from previous literature and theoretical reasoning. So, reviewers frequently criticize unsupported hypotheses. So, therefore, every hypothesis should answer the best question, which is why should this relationship exists. So you need to be prepared to answer to this question.
Mama أبي
Uh,
هيك.
if the answer is not convincing, then the hypothesis requires further theoretical
ماما أبي
development.
هيك بنت.
Strong hypotheses produce conceptual models, and strong conceptual models produce meaningful empirical findings. So now that our theoretical foundation is established, we must decide how
Don't touch
to
me.
investigate the research problem. So, excuse me.
Okay.
So we
I
need
request
to.
all the participants to please keep your microphone muted.
Thank you.
Ambreen, kindly please
So,
mute yourself. Yeah, please continue. I'm sorry for
thank
that.
you. So, selecting the appropriate methodology is one of the most important decisions in any research problem. So, what is not, it's a collection of article summaries. This is not the that it should be. It's a critical analysis of existing works. So, there is no universally superior model, as we have already said, and the best methodology is that we need to prepare it clearly. So, as researchers, we should avoid becoming attached to statistical techniques and to some other stuff of literature review in constructing only arguments that it's chronologically listed of previous studies. What we need to do is to make the identification of patterns and, of course, of contradictions, and also to create a clear research gap of your contribution. So here we have to see how we need to focus and how to conduct a literature review that reviewers mostly appreciate, how to write this kind of introductions that capture editors' eye, editors' attention, and how to build conceptual frameworks. Um, at this point, a highly quality review should not merely describe previous studies. It should critically evaluate them. So you always, as a good researcher, need to ask yourself, what have previous researchers discovered? What do they disagree? Where do they disagree? Also, which populations haven't yet been investigated? This is also a very nice idea, just to change the population and, of course, to see which theories remain over or under explored. More importantly, what is still known and what is still unknown is a very good idea to discover. And of course, your literature review should gradually convince the reader that your study is mostly necessary. Of course, you need to think of yourself not as someone reporting previous knowledge, but as someone constructing an argument for why your research deserves to exist and to go published. So every paragraph should move the reader one step closer to understanding the importance of your own study. So once we understand the purpose of the literature review, we must learn how to read scientific articles efficiently, because this is also a good lesson, since many researchers read papers from the first page to the last page. Maybe this is the ideal kind of reading, but since we are not forever, and we have time that we need to do other things, we cannot always get prepared to read the whole paper. So this is not always the most efficient approach, right? So when searching for literature, we always begin with the abstract, right? If the paper appears relevant, then we continue to the introduction, and after that, we move directly to the discussion section, because the discussion section explains what the authors actually discovered and why it matters. So, only afterwards we should examine the methodology and, of course, the results in detail. So, this approach allows us to evaluate dozens of articles much more efficiently, because efficiency is our aim here. Remember that reading papers is not about collecting PDFs. So many PhD students are thinking about this kind of behavior that is the best, but this is the best way to get confused. So be aware because it's about extracting scientific knowledge, not collecting. I've heard of too many people saying that, oh, yes, I've saved this kind of PDF. Yes, I have it. But the question is, have you understand what it says? No, because you didn't have the time to read it clearly and to understand. So that's a tricky thing that most of PhD candidates are trapped in. So, reading papers is only the first step. The next challenge is organizing what you have learned, a very important step. So, here we see that one mistake frequently observed on these on theses and journal manuscripts is organizing literature according to the authors. So instead, organize the review according to your concepts. So imagine that 20 researchers have investigated customer consumer trust. Okay, so rather than discussing each author separately, synthesize their findings into one coherent discussion would be fine. So, scientific writing is about integration, not repetition. Readers should never finish your literature review remembering author names. They should remember the ideas and the key findings. So, once your literature is organized, you need to develop a compelling introduction. So here we see the steps of writing an outstanding introduction, which is not only what does the topic matter, but also what do we already know. So editors often decide whether a manuscript deserves detailed review within only few minutes. Consequently, the our introduction must immediately capture their attention. So focus on a good introduction. A strong introduction should begin by explaining why the topic matters socially, economically, technologically, scientifically. Next, you summarize the existing knowledge, and after that, we identify the unresolved gap. So, finally, explain exactly how your study addresses that gap is the best practice to get published. Never begin with introduction with dictionary definitions. No, remember that, and also begin with significant. So it's like you are going to select a movie to watch while you're in Netflix platform, and you see, what do you see? You see the trailer, right? So if it gains your mm, I don't know, your mind, your mood, or what you're supposed to wait for to see, then you're going to press the play button. So excuse me, it's exactly the same. You need to create something which is important, and it inspires curiosity of the audience, not just another one, let's say it did better, boring manuscript. Okay? So after introducing the problem, we need to establish some good things to our theory. So here it's that we need to choose the right theory. The right theory always asks about what theory best explains my research problem. So there is no universally, as we said before, best theory, because the appropriate framework depends entirely on the phenomenon you are investigating. So we need to establish this kind of theoretical foundation with a very smart way. So we did never select a theory simply because it appears frequently in the literature. So the correct approach is to ask what theory best explains my research problem. Um, there are too many theories. So one question I often receive from doctoral students is also which theory is best. There's no universally best theory. Yes, I repeat it again and again. So the appropriate theory always depends entirely on the phenomenon being investigated. For example, if you study technology adoption, of course you can use the technology adoption model and the other UTAUT. Maybe it is the most appropriate. But if you investigated organizational capabilities, use the research-based view. If you are at about to describe sustainability, stakeholders theory may fit you. And of course, if the object of your research is behavior and diffusion, you can use TPB, or diffusion of innovation. So never select a theory simply because it appears frequently in the literature. Okay, choose the theory that best explains your research question, or you have a gut feeling that this fits you best. So once theory has been selected, then we begin constructing our hypothesis. So we need to see what previously literature has already summarized, and we need to summarize, of course, this kind of research findings and gaps. So every hypothesis should emerge naturally from previous literature. Don't write hypotheses simply because your conceptual models just requires them. It's going to fail. Reviewers can see that obvious, and they also expect logical reasoning, not very extreme things. So before presenting a hypothesis, ask yourself if can I explain easily why this relationship should exist? Can I do this? If the answer is no, so maybe additional theoretical development is required. So remember that hypotheses are not guesses. They are theoretically informed as expectation. So once hypotheses are clearly complete, we need to visualize our conceptual framework. So this conceptual framework, your conceptual framework, serves as the visual representation of your own theoretical reasoning. So a good one, a good conceptual model should be simple, logical, and easy to understand. So avoid unnecessary complexity. Remember that complexity um, doesn't automatically increase scientific quality. And of course, editors appreciate models that clearly illustrate the proposed relationships among constructs. So every arrow in your model should correspond to a hypothesis discussed in the literature review. Consistency between the text and the figure is also essential. So editors really appreciate models that clearly illustrate proposed relationships. Now that we have a theoretical model that is greatly established, let's discuss one of the most important principles of academic integrity, because now we live uh, in the world with artificial intelligence, which is good for us to have it, but of course we need to respect academic integrity. So this is the foundation of the scientific research. Many researchers mistakenly believe that plagiarism only involves copying text, word text from word to word. So in reality, plagiarism can also involve copying ideas, copying figures, research designs, or even your own previously published work without proper citation. So, good paraphrasing requires more than changing a few words. It requires understanding the original idea and expressing it in your own scientific voice while acknowledging the original source. So, every citation demonstrates always respect and, of course, great honor to the previous scholarship. Ethical research strengthens both scientific credibility and as well as personal reputation. So, what if we use artificial intelligence, AI? Well, we can use it responsibly to help ourselves with brainstorming, to create language improvement, of course, grammar, coding assistance, and of course to organize our literature review studying. Of course, AI cannot replace scientific thinking, cannot replace the contribution of the original manuscripts, and of course, you cannot have critical reasoning following research ethics. So you're allowed to use AI to assist you. Of course, it's very important that we have this tool, this amazing tool, but you are the author, not AI. Don't get confused. So you remain fully responsible for everything you submit. So today, however, we have to face this challenge, right? So, what editors really want from us before sending this manuscript is always something very critical, because we understand how to prepare our research, but we are not so sure how journals actually evaluate our manuscript, right? So unless no one of us has already tasted the bitter taste of desk rejection, then allow me to describe some feelings about this kind of reaction. So, uh, before sending your manuscript to reviewers, there are some people called editors, right? Editors conduct the initial evaluation. So, first things first, we need to convince the editors. Okay? During this stage, they ask themselves several simple but fundamental questions. So, they ask, is this study original? Does it make a meaningful contribution? Or we have already seen that before. What about the methodology this paper um, approaches? Is it appropriate? Is the manuscript clearly written? Or will readers of our journal benefit from this kind of research? So, um, if the answer to several of these questions is negative, then we have bad news to spread. Then the manuscript may receive a desk rejection without external review. That's life. But sometimes it's because we are not so experienced and we've sent our manuscript to an irrelevant journal, or a journal that focuses on different kind of research. So understanding how editors think is one of the most effective way to improve our publication success. So throughout the rest of today's session, this masterclass, we will continue looking at academic publishing from the editor's perspective, helping us all, of course, to avoid common pitfalls and significantly strengthen our future submissions. So, the next section of this masterclass will move into research methodology, including quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods, sampling strategies, questionnaire development, and of course, common methodological mistakes, statistical analysis, and how to present our results as good as it gets. So in a way that the reviewers expect. Um, so this is typically one of the most valuable sections for doctoral students, maybe, and early career researchers. So, what is the feeling to choose the right research methodology? Sometimes it's very stressful, because one of the first questions researchers ask is, which methodology should I use? What is best for me? So my response is always, tell me your research question first. So, methodology should never drive your research. Instead, your research problem should guide every methodological decision. Suppose your goal is to measure relationships. Um, Relationships among variables across a large population. So, a quantitative design may be more appropriate. So, if your aim is to explore perceptions, experiences, or complex social phenomena, then qualitative research may provide deeper insights. So sometimes neither approach is sufficient on its own. Mixed method sometimes combines the strengths of both quantitative and qualitative approaches. So, good methodology begins with alignment. Every methodological choice should logically support the research objectives and answer the research questions. So, once we understand the overall methodological approach, we need to decide how to collect our data. Um, well, we can see that researchers generally work with two broad categories of data. Primary data, as we say, um, are collected directly by one researcher or a research team for the specific purpose of the study. Examples include questionnaires, they include interviews, sometimes observations, sometimes experiments. Secondary data sometimes uh, exist and are collected by the others. These include official statistics, okay, and these official statistics are depending on financial databases, on company reports, on archival documents sometimes, and publicly available data sets. Sometimes we need to get some funding to obtain this kind of data sets. Sometimes we're free. They are free and we're free to go. So neither type is inherently better since the choice depends on your research objectives, available resources, and of course, the nature of the phenomenon being investigated. So increasingly, researchers are combining both sources to strengthen their analysis. So after deciding where our data will come from, we always must determine whom to study. So sampling is our new kind of observation because
ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ
we
ਤੇ
need
ਤੇਰਾ
to,
ਆਈ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਦਰਵਾਜ਼ਾ ਬੰਦ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਗਈ ਵੀ ਆ
we need to
ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ
say who should participate.
ਹਾਂ
So we can include
ਮੈਂ
maybe
ਸਾਡੇ
probability sampling, non probability sampling, convenience sampling sometimes, snowball sampling, stratified or random sampling. So this is one of the most common reviewer comments concerning sampling. So don't be afraid of uh, making a good response to the reviewers. Sometimes the reviewers are not aware of the kind of method samplings, the testing or statistical method we are using. So sometimes that's why they ask too many questions because they need to be sure that our research is ideal for their journals. So they may ask you, why did you choose these participants? You need to simply respond. How representative is your sample? There's always this kind of tricky question. So maybe they may ask you, can your findings be generalized? uh, Before thinking out loud, just study and see what's the best answer to provide to them. So before collecting data, clearly define your target population, then justify your sampling method, and after that, in social sciences, mostly, uh, maybe it's better to use convenience sample because this is very common especially when the study is very specific in your own population. So, however, we need to say that researchers should always acknowledge its limitation. So always report sample characteristics if you want to avoid this kind of tricky questions, right? And include the age group, the gender, maybe the level of education. Sometimes it gives good information about people, their occupations, or any other relevant demographic variable you need to say, you need to provide. So once participants are identified, we need reliability, and this kind of measurement instruments like questionnaires. So good questionnaires are clear, are simple, are neutral, because they don't create emotionally loaded wording. They don't trigger major problems or other things that may disturb people. So, what we need to focus on is to avoid double barreled questions, leading questions, and ambiguous wording. Creating a questionnaire is not an easy thing to say and to create. It's one of the most important tools we need to focus, and we need to spend a lot of time in order to be sure that it's proper. So a questionnaire is not just a simple list of questions. It is a scientific measurement instrument. If poorly designed, then we produce poor quality data, regardless of the sophistication of subsequent statistical analysis. So it's the base, it's the roots of our tree we are about to grow in our own garden. So focus on its question because it measures only one concept at a time. As we said before, avoid emotionally loaded questions because this is a big trick. And before distributing your questionnaire, conduct a pilot study. This may help you improve it because you may identify confusing wording, technical issues, or any other problems with reliability, because we need to focus on this kind of reliability. So remember, high quality data begin with high quality measurement, always. So before collecting the full data set, we must ensure that our measurement scales are valid and, of course, are reliable. So I suppose you're aware of this kind of statistical measures, since reliability refers to the consistency of a measurement instrument. If we repeated the measurement under similar conditions, would we obtain similar results? So that's what this asks for. So about the validity, validity addresses a different question. So it asks, are we measuring what we intend to measure? Are we sure that we're doing the right thing? As you see, both are mostly essential for credible quantitative research. So, in quantitative research, reviewers expect evidence that customers' contracts, are both reliable and, of course, they are valid. So convergent validity is often evaluated using average variance extracted, while discriminant validity examines whether contracts are sufficiently designed from one another. And strong measurement models may increase reviewers' confidence in the credibility of your findings. So that's why we need to have a robust model to demonstrate. So once measurement quality is established, then data collection can easily begin. So here we need to say some things about the most important thing of social science researches. Since ethical data collection is not just a procedural checkbox. Ethics is not merely a requirement. It is fundamental to responsible research. So participants should clearly understand the purpose of the study, how their data will be used, and that participation is voluntary. Sometimes there's some kind of research that the sample is getting paid or is getting some gifts. If so, we always need to describe this and to say exactly what was the context. So, confidentiality should be always maintained throughout the research process. Depending on institutional or national regulations, formal ethical approval may also be required before data collection begins. So, ethical transparency strengthens this credibility of the research, and of course, it protects both participants and researchers. So, once data are collected, the next challenge is choosing the appropriate analytical technique. So, choosing the right statistical technique is something that modern researchers need to ask themselves. So, if they have access to many analytical techniques, they have too many options. However, sophisticated software doesn't guarantee highly quality research. So, the choice of statistical method should always reflect the research objectives, theoretical framework, the sample size, and of course the data characteristics. Descriptive statistics, from the other way, summarize the data. Regression examines predictive relationships, and of course, structural equation modeling allows researchers to evaluate complex relationships among multiple constructs, but always we can use the one that best fits our research. So let's briefly discuss one of the most widely used approaches today, which is how we present our results effectively. So, if we have used, let's say, simple regression, SEM modeling, or other statistic software, we have also some tables that we can easily demonstrate, like we see in this paper. So, statistical analysis is presenting our results effectively, but it's only useful if results are presented clearly. So, We need to focus on what reviewers appreciate. We say that reviewers always appreciate clarity. Present only information that helps answer your research questions, not the whole statistical analysis result. This always confuses people because we need to admit that reviewers are also people, right? So we don't want to confuse them. Uh, every table and figure should have a clear purpose. Otherwise, don't add it. Avoid just copy and paste large outputs from your software, your statistical software, and to put it directly into your manuscript. This is a big mistake that many researchers do in the beginning of their career. Instead, summarize key findings in reader friendly format. Remember that results should always report what was found, not explain why it occurred. Okay, so interpretation belongs in the discussion section. So finally, we may examine the most common methodological mistakes here that lead to reviewer criticism. As we see, and we have already focused on, is the weak research question. That's the first thing that will be criticized, good or bad. So, some mistakes I encounter most frequently, both as an author and as a reviewer. Of course, many manuscripts fail not because the research topic lacks value, but of course because methodological decisions are insufficiently justified. Every methodological choice should be transparent, should be logical, and supported by previous literature. Of course, we should never assume that reviewers will infer your reasoning, explain every decision. No, this is not something that happens mostly. A carefully designed study builds trust. So when reviewers trust your methodology, they are more likely to trust your conclusions, of course. So, methodology is the backbone of scientific research. If that backbone is weak, that's the bottom line. Even an interesting research idea struggles to survive to peer review process. So we need uh, to understand how to design robust studies, how to collect reliable data, and of course, how to choose appropriate analytical techniques to avoid common methodological pitfalls. So, in the next section, we will see how to craft compelling titles, how to create abstracts that are meaningful, and what's the meaning of a good and or a bad introduction. And how to create publication ready tables and figures. So, as you see, or maybe you remember while visiting an original and old school, let me say, a library, it's good to imagine uh, how you choose what you're going to read. Imagine walking into a bookstore containing a million books. Which book would you pick? Most likely, the title immediately attracts your attention. So it's exactly the same thing because academic publishing works exactly the same way. Editors receive hundreds of submissions every month. Before reading the abstract, they read the title. Before reviewers download your manuscript, they read the title. Before researchers cite your paper, they discover, of course, the title through the database such as Scopus, Web of Science, and or Google Scholar. So, therefore, your title should clearly communicate three things: what you studied, which variables you investigated, which contexts you examined, and of course, you need to avoid trying to sound very poetic. Instead, focus on clarity. Remember that search engines are also going to read your title, of course, right? So, good keywords always help us have many citations, and of course, they improve our work. They they are most discoverable, and that's why we need to focus on this in order to increase our citations. So, once the title attracts readers, the abstract also determines whether they continue uh, the reading. So the abstract is probably the most widely read section of your paper. Many readers never go beyond it. Editors often decide whether to send your manuscript for the review after reading only the title and the abstract. A strong abstracts tells a complete scientific story in approximately 200 words. Being selected by having a good abstract, then um, the reader begin by introducing the research problem. Then clearly, when you write your abstract, you can clearly state your objective, and of course, briefly, you describe your methodology, including sample size and your analytical approach. Then you present only your most important findings, and finally conclude with your scientific contribution. Because one common mistake is writing the abstract first. No, I believe that you can always create something in the beginning if it fits you, if it's good for you, but you must write it the last this must be the last thing you write, your abstract, because once the manuscript is complete, then you know exactly what you accomplished. So after the abstract comes the section that determines whether readers remain interested, and this is the introduction. So many introductions begin with dictionary definitions. Unfortunately, editors haven't seen these, have seen these, thousands of times. So instead, begin with significance. Explain that the topic matters. Is it economically important? Why it's socially important? Why is technologically and environmentally important what you're about to describe, in order to make it easier for someone to continue reading your research. So once readers understand the importance of the problem, then they summarize previous. Then you summarize previous research. So then you identify the research gap, and finally explain how your study addresses this gap in the way it should be. So by the end of the introduction, the reader should think, yes, this research really needs to be done. So after convincing readers reading that, based on the problem, because this problem always exists, we must explain how we investigated it. So the next slide shows some very common questions. I suppose many of us have had the opportunity to respond. So, who is participating? What? What's the measurement scales that you used, and where and when it happened? Of course, why and how and why is always a very big question to answer. So think of your methodology as a recipe. If another researcher wanted to replicate your study, would they have enough information to do this? So explain your sampling procedure in the beginning, then describe the scales. After that, report the questionnaire development, and then discuss ethical approval if applicable. After that, explain the statistical procedures and the transparency that creates credibility. Never hide the weaknesses of your methodology. Instead, acknowledge them honestly. This is the most respected thing to do. After methodology comes, the easiest section to write is the results, because you are aware of what happened to your research, and you are the most appropriate person to describe it. So many researchers mix results and discussion together when they begin their career. Of course, this is a mistake that is easy to fix, of course, because results only answer one question. What did we find? This simple one. And the discussion answers, why did we find this? Okay, so keep this section separate, because present findings are objectively. You may use tables, you may use figures presented, as we said before, objectively. Show that you have understood exactly what's going on your research, and avoid, of course, repeating numbers that are already shown in tables. No one wants to read again and again the same stuff. So let visuals communicate your evidence. So the discussion is where your scientific thinking becomes visible. And we see that the discussion is arguably the most intellectually demanding section of any paper. Here, statistics become the scientific knowledge. Don't simply repeat the results, just explain them, focus on them, say why did this relationship occur, answer if it does it support previous studies, does it contradict alien findings, or why might that happen? So good discussions integrate theory with empirical evidence. Imagine having a scientific conversation with previous researchers. What would you say to them? That's exactly the discussion section. So your goal is not merely to report numbers, but is to explain, of course, their meaning. So once interpretation of the discussion, the key findings, is complete, we summarize the journey. And the journey is, of course, the conclusion. So, the conclusion is your final opportunity to leave a lasting impression. Avoid introducing new results. Instead, summarize the major findings. Explain their implications in simple wording. You don't have to create new words, just to explain it in an easy, understandable way and suggest future research directions. Leave readers feeling that your research opened a new scientific possibility rather than simply ending them. So it's the last taste of the cake you've made. So be smart to leave the best taste of your reader, because this is your reputation, since uh, you are writing something not just to be written by yourself and your colleagues. You write your research because you want to be heard internationally, right? So every paper should also acknowledge its own limitations. Be smart and just present them too. So many young researchers fear discussion limitations. In reality, reviewers, I'm telling you, appreciate it. Honestly, every study has limitations, and of course, what matters is whether researchers recognize them. Limitations demonstrate scientific maturity. They also provide opportunities for future research. So never attempt to convince readers that your study is the perfect study of the world. No, no, no. That's not the point. Perfection doesn't exist in science, and everybody knows that. So, alongside limitations, come to practical and theoretical implications. As you see, the so what questions are always asked, because uh, always they ask, why should anyone care about your findings? So you must be prepared to answer these um, tricky questions sometimes, because theoretical implications explain how your study advances existing knowledge. Practical implications explain how organizations, how policymakers, managers, educators, or practitioners can apply your own findings. So, strong implications increase both academic impact and, of course, citation potential. So you need to remember that good research should not remain confined to journal pages. So it should improve real world decision making. That's why we create research. At this moment, we need to discuss the single biggest determinant of publication success. So we need to focus why we write for humans, why we need to avoid some complex sentences, unnecessary paragraphs, long paragraphs, and passive overload. So, let me share one of the most valuable lessons I have learned throughout my publishing journey so far. Never write to impress the reviewer. Just write to communicate science. Complex vocabulary doesn't make research stronger. No, just confuses them or annoys them. Sometimes long sentences don't make researchers more intelligent. Clear writing always reflects to clear thinking. So every sentence should help the reader understand your contribution. Before submitting your manuscript, you need to ask yourself, would an intelligent colleague outside my specialization understand this paragraph? Is it easy for him to understand? If the answer is no, then I suppose you need to rewrite it more simply. So, scientific writing is not about sounding sophisticated, it's about sophisticated ideas that need to be described and very understandable. Okay, so that ultimately is the hallmark of the excellent researcher. So let's make a moment now to reflect, because up to this point we have explored how a research idea evolves into a well-written manuscript. We have discussed identifying meaningful research gaps, selecting appropriate methodologies, and of course, crafting its section of a unique paper. The next part of our masterclass will take us behind the editorial curtain. We will examine what exactly happens, what actually happens after you click the submit, and how editors make decisions, why reviewers sometimes reject papers, and how we need to respond effectively to reviewer comments, and how to avoid predatory journals, and how to build international academic career that extends beyond publishing individual papers. So, a very important thing is to build your academic profile, your CV, your international identity, which communicates your own science, right? So, you need to say clearly why visibility matters. We can never ask, where can I publish? We should ask instead, where does my research belong? So let me pose a question to the audience, asking how many of you, if possibly, have completed a manuscript and then searched Google or Scopus journals. I suppose that many researchers begin by asking, where can I publish quickly, right? So instead, I would encourage you to ask, which journal is the natural home of my own research? Because every journal has its own identity, and it has a defined audience. They prefer some kind of methodologies and theoretical perspectives, and of course, some expectations. So before submitting, read at least 10 recently published articles from the target journals, just to understand how things are in this kind of journals. So, if your study fits naturally alongside this paper, then of course you may submit it. Otherwise, uh, you need to remember that a good paper submitted to a wrong journal is still likely to be rejected, right? So, once the journal is selected, then the submission process begins. So, of course, you need to start by introducing yourself with your ORR CID. Sometimes some researchers don't know that this is your permanent, your unique ID, which is the global research system, ecosystem, how it works. It describes how your research is categorized. So you need to complete every of the fields of this kind of ID, your affiliations, your keywords, your founding sources. Sometimes you have it, if you have it. And then you may link your publications and keep it current. Here is that Google Scholar and Scopus author ID also, that creates a public citation profile. You can claim and verify it to track your AIDS index, your citations, and your co-author's work. You can review it regularly, and sometimes you will be able to correct any errors that are made by the system. Of course, the Scopus author ID is another platform that automatically generates your indexed publications.
Dr. Dimitra,
Yes.
can you end in another 2 minutes so that we can have a couple of discussions?
Yes, of course, of course, of course. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
saying
much.
so. Yes. After that, we are all aware of ResearchGate, LinkedIn, and our personal profiles. Okay. So the secret behind every published paper is that every experienced researcher has received rejection letters, as we said before. But the difference between researchers who succeeded and those who stopped in remarkable simply is that successful researchers keep going. So what the persistence actually looks like is never to give up. Never allow one rejection to define your scientific career. I want you to remember this from me. Mostly, never give up. And of course, that your academic profile is your legacy, because your persistence beats the perfection. And beyond publishing, becoming an international scholar is a great aim, because we began with a research idea, transformed into a manuscript, navigated peer review, and then we are creating our career by creating new knowledge. So publishing is the beginning and not the end, since academic success is not measured by paper count alone. The greatest researchers are remembered because of their ideas changed how people think. So create knowledge, solve real problems, and build collaborations are always things that need to shape the society. So first of all, describing the researcher's journey is that we start from research, publication, recognition, and of course, collaboration, which always follows impact and our legacy. So, the future of research is that researchers, since we are living in the artificial intelligence world, uh, we need to highlight that AI is transforming academia faster than any technology in recent decades. And the question is not whether to use it, but how to use it wisely. So, as we said before, we need to use AI just to help us organize our literature and improve sometimes the language and our study. 10 lessons, lastly, I wish I have learned before is that you need to read every day. Knowledge accumulates gradually. After that, write every week. You just need to write 1 or 2 paragraphs per day, not much more. But you need to stay focused on publishing and on the quality of your research, not the quantity. Of course, it's good if you can collaborate internationally and to learn some new techniques. Of course, accepting criticism is something that you need to embrace and to become a person that never stops learning. Of course, staying curious throughout your career is something that we all need in order to have sharp minds and to become better and better each day, and of course protect your integrity and helping other younger researchers to uh, improve themselves. Of course, persistence is the thing that shows that what distinguishes successful researchers should always do. And of course, before closing, I have to say that science always advances one careful design question at a time, because research is not about publishing papers, it's about asking meaningful questions, seeking truthful answers, and improving the world. Since it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Building your career with patience is the best aim you need to pose to yourself, but build it ethically, build it collaboratively, above all, enjoy the journey. So, thank you for all this amazing and masterclass, and I am happy to have some questions from all of you attending till now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Skandali, for your insightful and engaging presentation. We already have one hand raised. Samik Bakchi, if you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, my question, ma'am, thank you, ma'am, for such an exciting and vivid lecture on such a beautiful on a research, every aspect of the research. You have explained so meticulously in every aspect of the research. So, my question is that what type of research methodology and what are the main aspects to make the research, and how you can make research more effective to have by which type of methodology, and how what type of research question is such designed?
Well, it depends, of course, on the study. If it's more technologically speaking, then research become more effective when it begins with a clear and meaningful question. So you can use the appropriate methodology, since you have already seen what is already used. And of course, you need to connect the findings to real theoretical and mostly practical problems. If we speak about, we talk about social sciences, effectiveness also depends on careful planning, on reliable data, on transparent reporting, and of course, collaboration. Because collaboration and openness reflect our feedback and our research background. But most importantly, in my opinion, effective research should not only produce results, it should generate knowledge that others can always understand, can trust, can apply, and build upon.
Madam,
Thank you.
my next question is that is the secondary data or the primary data, which one is really effectful, or which can make a good impact on the research? Is the secondary one or the primary? Which
Well,
the
it's not an easy. It depends. It depends on the research, and of course, it depends on the sample you have, because sometimes primary data is not easy to collect. So we need to see what we need to focus on. That neither primary nor secondary are automatically more valuable, because primary data provide greater control and are collected specifically for the research question, while the secondary data can often offer larger samples, historical comparisons, and greater efficiency. But nowadays, I if I'm well known about that, I think longitudinal studies have a greater impact, if you can, of course, have the opportunity to make this. But
okay,
their
okay.
impact always depends on the quality of the data, their relevance to the research question, and of course, the transparency of the analysis. Since in many studies, combining both sources produces stronger and, of course, as you all may know, more credible findings.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your
Thank you very
question.
much. Yeah. Is there any other question that the participants would like to ask the resource person? Or if you want to type it in the chat box, we will read it for you. Yes, anyone can raise your hand, please. Maybe we do not have any further question. Is there any other question? I can ask you for the last time, and then we can, close the session. Yes. Okay, I think we have come to an end. As we come to the end of today's session, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Skandali for delivering such a comprehensive and practical session. Today's discussion provided valuable guidance on every stage of publication journey, from designing a strong research study and preparing an effective manuscript to understanding the peer review process and responding instructively to reviewers' comments. The practical insights and real-world experiences shared today will undoubtedly benefit the researchers, faculty members, and doctoral scholars in their publication endeavors. Finally, I thank all the participants for their enthusiastic participation, thoughtful question, and active engagement throughout today's session. On behalf of the organizers, I wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you once all again. We look forward to your participation in tomorrow's session. So good evening, everyone. I hand it over to Dr. Firdaus. You're muted, Dr. Firdaus. Can't hear you. We can't hear you, Dr. Firdaus. We are not able to hear you, Dr. Firdaus. No, can't hear. I think there's some problem with your speaker, Rahman. Sure. Okay, I would like to request all the participants to kindly switch on your video so that we can have this virtual capture of today's session.